Well, hello and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. It's always nice to see all of you, and thank you for typing in the chat. I love to see where you're joining us from. So, from Canada, from England, from New York City, Missouri, New Jersey. Wow, this is a wonderful international meeting. And I'm Gustavo Tolosa, and I'm your host for this Starch Solution Book Club. I want to make sure that you all are hearing me well. So if you don't mind typing that, yes, you can hear me, I would appreciate it. And today I have a surprise, a little surprise at the beginning and another or a few at the end. So make sure you stay until the very end. So for the beginning, what I want to share with you is just 4 or 5 pictures that I thought you might. I was looking through the computer and I found some pictures that I think you might enjoy. So let me go back to the presentation here. Hold on just a minute. And here is a fun. I remember this time. It was a very special time when I was able to go to Hawaii with a group, one of the Hawaii adventures. I think it was 3 years ago. And Dr. McDougall and I got into this, I don't know, it was one of those inflatable tires or whatever you call it. I don't even know what you call them, but went down this river and it was cold water, but we had a lot of fun, as you can see. Another picture here with him in Santa Rosa, California, where I was very lucky and honored to attend so many times and learn from the master himself and his lovely, lovely wife, Mary, that makes such a wonderful addition with her lectures. And I've enjoyed every minute I spent with them. This is a picture from last November at a gala event in Los Angeles, California. This is from yesterday. And now look at the difference from about 7 years ago or 8. This is the only picture I could find. I think there's another one of me when I was 70 pounds heavier, but obviously, well, not obviously, at least me, I avoided the camera often because I was self-conscious of how obese I was. And for lastly here is my first 10-day program in Santa Rosa, California. When it ended, I wanted a picture with Dr. McDougall. And then, of course, I didn't know that later on I was going to become his webinar producer and that I was going to be there so many times and spend so many wonderful days and hours with him and his family. So I just wanted to show you those pictures. It's not to boast about myself at all. I just thought it would be something fun to show you. At the end, I'm going to have a surprise, like I said, about some music, but very different from what I've been doing in my other previous webinars. And I have a few announcements. I want to tell you a little bit about my lunch today because, you know, many times good recipes come from mistakes. So I wanted to make my fries today. I have a technique, I could call it, where I make like steak fries or just fries in the oven, but of course without oil and of course without frying them. But they come out so crisp and delicious that they're almost, we could say, just like French fries. So I wanted to make those, and one of the secrets is that you have to boil them first for like 2 minutes, so that they're crispy on the outside, although there's a couple of other steps, but I'll tell you about that later. And they're soft on the inside. But I boiled them for too long. So actually, when I looked at them, more than half of them were almost like mashed potatoes. And I thought about making mashed potatoes, but then I thought, well, I'm going to see what happens. So I put them in a baking pan with, with what do you call it? Escaped to me, paper, but it could be a silicone sheet as well. And I put them there at 450. The oven was hot. I tried to, there were a few that were still whole, but it mostly was kind of a mushy kind of thing. But I did try to spread it as well as possible. The result was that it was something like a, they were crisp. And they were delicious. I had put some onion and garlic powder and chili powder. And how can I explain? They were, what do you call it when we have them for breakfast? Hash browns, sort of, a mixture. So it's hard to explain. But I wanted to share that with you because they were one of the most delicious, but they ate it all. And of course, we had a bean stew to go with it and other things. All right, parchment paper. That's what I wanted to say. Okay. My first 10-day program was in 2013, in August of 2013. Yes, the 10-day conference will change your life forever. There is no substitute. And it just does. You go back to your house totally transformed, and there's no looking back. So a little disclosure, like we've been doing so far. At the beginning of the Start Solution book, Dr. McDougall says that diet is a powerful medicine, and anyone who is thinking about changing their diet, it needs to be taken care by a doctor, because especially if they're taking medicine, those will be adjusted, and a medical doctor is needed. And hopefully a medical doctor that is knowledgeable about plant-based nutrition. All right, so let's jump into it. I'm going to do a very quick review of Chapter 2. In Chapter 2, we talked about how moderation kills. And it really is very similar to saying that you can stop smoking by smoking 2 cigarettes instead of 20, or drinking 1 glass of wine instead of 5 bottles, or whatever. So moderation for most of us doesn't work, because having that little window or that little door open that it's possible to eat this or that is enough for most of us to fall off the wagon. I once heard somebody that I don't remember now. I've been to so many lectures, I don't know. Sometimes I remember things, but I don't know who said them. But I remember a presenter saying that we do this with other things like clothes. Some of us say, oh, I don't wear yellow. Oh, I don't wear, boots. I don't read this kind of book. We do that in other areas of our life. We say, I don't do that. And so when we're talking about this, when we're talking about food, we could say, I don't eat cheese, or I don't eat oil, and that's it. Period. I don't do that. That's not part of my life, and it's over. Let's move on to something else. So that is why Dr. McDougall says that moderation kills. Then last week we also talked about how fat is the metabolic dollar for the next famine. And Dr. McDougall very wisely says, well, the next famine never comes, at least not in most part of the world, and not in these times. In other times, yes, the people would eat some more fat, perhaps, but the fat that we eat is the fat that we wear, like Dr. McDougall says in his book. And because the fat we eat goes directly into our fat cells. So the other thing in chapter 2 was that we humans are very, very inefficient at converting carbohydrates to fat. It takes 30% of the calories consumed. That is a high price for our system, for our bodies to pay when it can consume other things for energy. So, and that other thing is starch. And any excess of starch is stored in our bodies up to 2 pounds in an invisible way in our muscles and in the liver in the form of glycogen. And if you eat even more than that, which is difficult, but it's possible, then it would be burned as body heat and through physical movement. Okay, that's what it's explained in chapter 2 there by Dr. McDougall. So what he says is we only have control over one thing, really, and that is what we eat, not when, not how much, and not how. So when we're hungry, we're hungry. It's one of the most powerful instinct, one of the most powerful drives that we have to keep us alive. And so we can starve ourselves up to a certain point. We can measure portions. We can weigh food. We can eat at certain times of the day according to this diet or that diet, but they don't work eventually because the only thing we can control is what we eat, and that's what it really is important. Okay, so that kind of summarizes chapter 2, and now we're going to jump into chapter 3 and make sure that you're either writing down questions in the paper or here in the chat box, so that when we're done with that chapter or when we take a break, we can discuss together. You guys can talk, you can type, or then I can also answer questions. So here we go. This is chapter 3 of the Starch Solution, and chapter 3 talks about the 5 major poisons found in animal foods. So this is a very important chapter, and excuse me here, will. Well, that's okay, I guess. Let me see. Hold on just a minute. I would like to turn off my camera. That way I'm not in the middle of any writing. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so very important chapter today, because as far as I'm concerned, this chapter is one that we have to read and read again. I have highlighted a few things that I want to encourage you to read. In his 44, but by now 50 years of practice in medicine, Dr. McDougall says that he has never seen a patient sickened by eating potatoes, sweet potatoes, corn, rice, beans, fruits, and vegetables, except in rare cases where the food was when the foods were spoiled or contaminated, or where they trigger an uncommon allergy or food sensitivity. But what he did witness every day with serious diseases that came from eating animal foods, including heart attacks and strokes and type 2 diabetes, arthritis, osteoporosis, and cancer. So then we have here, we did go through this last week, these charts. I'm not going to go over today, but these charts are so important for us to read in detail and know what exactly it is that we're eating. And here we're going to start with the first poison, which is, or toxin, which is protein. So it says, when we keep eating protein after we have met our daily requirement, the body seeks to eliminate the excess, of course. The primary route is through the liver and the kidneys. Some people may notice the strong smell of urea in their sweat and urine, one indicator of protein overload. On average, we lose a quarter of our overall kidney function over 70 years of life. So this is important information. By the time we're 70 years old, no matter what, we have lost a quarter of our kidney function. And just from consuming a diet high in animal protein, of course, that's not the same if you for 70 years didn't eat any animal food or products. So for those with already compromised livers and kidneys, excess protein speeds up the process that leads to organ failure. Protein overload also harms the bones. Each time we double our protein intake, we increase the amount of calcium excreted in the urine by 50%. So it makes it escalating risk for osteoporosis and kidney stones. So remember that kidney stones and osteoporosis, like it says here, it comes from a protein overload. Okay, later on, we will go more in detail over each one of these, and we'll see that actually there are levels of protein that we should take into consideration, because we should not be eating protein in excess. Okay, another toxin, fat. In 2007 and 2008 report, and all of these reports are in the book. They have a little number here where you can later go to the back of the book and read or find those studies and reports. There is an epidemic of obesity in the United States, and might say most of the world. And in the United States, 68% of adults, 68% of adults were overweight. So that was in 2008. It has increased. We know that in these 12 years. So that it has most likely gone over the 70% mark. The body stores dietary fat quite effortlessly as body fat. We also store surplus fat in our liver, in the heart, in the muscles, and the accumulation of fat in these organs is a hallmark of a condition referred to as insulin resistance. Okay, very important term, which in turn contributes to heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. Of course, carrying all this excess weight hurts our joints, and it leads to osteoarthritis in the hips and knees. Very good. So another toxin is cholesterol, which is found nearly exclusively in animal products. So, like all animals, we produce all the cholesterol that we need for our own uses. Unfortunately, our bodies are not very efficient at eliminating the excess. we excrete only a little more than the amount we make ourselves. When we add to our cholesterol load by eating animal foods, the excess accumulates in our skin and tendons, as well as in the arteries, which is the place where we don't want it, where it is a major contribution to vascular diseases of the heart and brain, leading to heart attacks and strokes. Also, cholesterol facilitates cancer development. All right, methionine. This is a sulfur-containing amino acid found in large amounts in meat, poultry, fish, eggs, and cheese. And it just causes a wide range of problems. Let's see. We metabolize this amino acid into another amino acid, homocysteine, which is a known risk factor for heart attack, stroke, arterial disease of the legs, blood clots in the veins, dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and depression. So sulfur feeds cancerous tumors and is known to be toxic to the tissues of the intestine, causing severe colitis. Therefore, this is a very powerful toxin, as you can see here. And another one is dietary acids, which, of course, animal foods are loaded with dietary acids. After we eat them, this is what happens. Just imagine eating animal products. All of them are very acidic. So the body has to maintain a certain pH level to basically to sustain life. And so how is it going to make our body more alkaline? Well, by releasing from our bones the alkaline materials, carbonate, citrate, and sodium, and to neutralize the acid. So basically, like Dr. McDougall says, you are peeing your bones into the toilet. So how do you detoxify? Well, you detoxify, it's very easy. You reduce or eliminate the animal foods in your diet. And starch has an immense ability to allow your body to naturally heal itself. And here we have one of the star McDougallers. I leave this for your own reading. These are very, very, very interesting and inspiring, I should say, stories. So we're going to stop here and see if we have any questions. Did Dr. McDougall attribute his stroke also to a sad diet? Yes, we did go over that in the first session. No problem at all. Go ahead. There are no bad questions here. And remember that we said that we're going to be very accepting here, and that we know that everybody's at a different point in our journeys. So we're here to support each other and answer questions. So yes, entirely, Dr. McDougall attributes his stroke to the standard American diet that he ate during his childhood up to when he was 18 years old and had the stroke. Okay, a medicine that diabetic is a sulfur-containing drug. Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. Very good. Any other questions that you may have? If not, we're just going to move on to chapter 4 and keep going with our wonderful book here. So no questions, right? I don't see any. So let's move on, and we're going to go to chapter 4. All right. Give me a minute to find that window. And here we go. So spontaneous healing on a starch-based diet. That means, of course, that in many cases, only it only takes one meal, 2 meals, to feel a considerable difference in the way you feel. Okay, so I love this. Stop the cycle of injury. If your health is deteriorating, don't assume that your body is failing you. And most, I hear this so many times, especially with older people, well, I'm just getting old and this is how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to basically just end up crippled. And it's not like that. I see a lot of these wonderful doctors that I have had the pleasure and the honor of meeting during these years. And, they are in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and they're perfectly mobile and they're perfectly well. So for disease to progress, you have to keep injuring. This is basic logic, but for some reason we are so brainwashed by media and by the industries and by just basically things that we hear all the time. So we have to keep injuring our body to get worse. So for healing to occur, the opposite must happen. We have to outpace the injury with healing. It's a simple matter of allowing your body to take 2 or more steps forward for every step back, or better yet, to stop all regressions by very clean living. So understand that if you continue injuring your body for too long, the disease-causing forces will eventually do irreversible damage. Your body at some point will no longer be able to work its healing magic completely. Fortunately, most of us are not in that much trouble, so there's still hope, but really the solution is in our hands. We are the ones who must stop the damage. And now I remember something that I heard. My grandfather from my dad's side was a doctor. And I remember this phrase that he said. I remember it, but for some reason it stuck in my head since I was little. He always said, you need to let the body heal itself first, because he was a very good doctor, and he wasn't quick to prescribe 5, 6 prescriptions and to or do an operation or whatever, a procedure. He always wanted, as long as he wasn't hurting, as he wasn't doing damage to you. Of course, if you broke your leg, you needed immediate attention, but he always said that the body is wise and it will heal itself. So, and that's exactly what Dr. McDougall says. Okay, so we will move on. Here's another Starch McDougall. And the case studies presented over the following pages look at successes battling heart disease and inflammatory arthritis and cancer. So look at some of the common inflammatory diseases of arteries. This is interesting because if our arteries, if the endothelium, which is that very thin lining of the arteries is damaged or is inflamed, these are the diseases: aortic aneurysms, bowel and other infarctions, claudication in the legs, degenerative discs of the spine, gangrene, hearing loss, heart attacks, impotence, kidney failure, macular degeneration, and strokes. Okay, all things that have to do with healthy or unhealthy arteries. Okay, here's another Starch McDougall. Arthritis, we have a several people that have uh, just experienced incredible improvement in arthritis. And here are some autoimmune diseases. So just know that they are listed here. If you want to go back and highlight them. And here's Ruth that I did meet in person. Spontaneous healing from cancer. So cancers begin and are spread by unhealthy components of a meat and dairy-centric, oil-laden Western diet. Vegetarians are generally healthier and have lower cancer rates compared with others living in the same community. The problem is the same as with heart disease and rheumatoid arthritis. Repeated injuries from unhealthy foods trigger further injury, followed by attempts to recover through inflammation, which, when chronic, is implicated in all stages of cancer: initiation, promotion, and progression. That word, inflammation, is a word that I have ingrained in my brain because Dr. McDougall has talked about so much. And inflammation is something that we do not want in our bodies. Thankfully, however, the fact that a cancer has formed doesn't mean that the body will abandon its attempts at spontaneous healing. No, no. Cancer is not a time for losing hope. It is a time for heeding the body's message and taking action. Ruth's recovery from cancer is an important example of how the body never ceases in its efforts to heal and stay healthy, even after very serious damage. So, some of the reported spontaneous regressions healing of common cancers, we have brain cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, kidney, melanoma, and prostate. All right, so chronic disease does not have to be forever. And here is something that I hope you will remember. It all begins with a simple understanding of one basic truth, and here it is. The diet that best prevents disease, best supports the body's innate healing mechanisms, and best promotes sustained weight loss is a low-fat diet based on starches with added vegetables and fruits and with no animal products or free oils like olive or corn oil or coconut oil or you name it, grape, I mean, any kind of oil. A giant step toward health and spontaneous healing is yours for the taking. You should expect big results after making these big changes to a starch-based diet. And so here we have other spontaneous healing of other diseases. This list goes on. And then it says, you will not be disappointed with your body's abilities to heal. Give it a chance. All right, so let's go back here and see if we have any questions. The Starch solution has been translated to many, many, many languages. I don't know the specifics. You can find out by going to Dr. McDougall's website and looking it up, or on Google. If not the Starch solution, then Dr. McDougall's picture book, which is free on his website, which is a reduced version of the Starch solution, that has been translated into, I think, all languages. And if you are looking for a language that is not there, all you have to do is send an email to the email that is on the website, and they will translate it. Let's see. Any other questions here? Questions or comments? Like, for example, I would like to answer any questions about foods. If you want to share what you have eaten today, or if you have a question about how to prepare something, that is one of my expertise. Since for 7 years, I have been cooking just about every recipe that crosses my path, and I have filmed hundreds of webinars with chefs, and I have been in Chef's AJ's home many times, and in other people. So I'm just saying I have knowledge, and I'm here to share with you if you have any questions. Okay, yes, Dr. McDougall's color book or picture book. Yeah, color book, I think it is called. Just go to his website and you'll find it. You can put it in the search. I think it's called the Dr. McDougall's color book. It's brilliant. He says that it's his best work because after a while he told me, Gustavo, I think I've written everything. I think most people nowadays don't want to be reading long books. So I've decided I'm going to make things really simple and with pictures. Do you stay away from all bread, Gustavo? Sophie, no, I am going to admit it publicly here. And I don't eat tons, or sometimes days go by and I don't, but I do. When I've been in Dr. McDougall's house, I've seen bread. Mary talks about a bakery where they go and buy bread. I have found a bakery where they use everything organic and everything is, or at least they have many choices of real whole wheat, and it's whole wheat. The one bread that I buy is whole wheat and water and the what do you call it, the rising, the yeast. So it doesn't have oil, it doesn't have salt, and I do. But I'm aware that if I want to lose a few more pounds, I have to do two things. I have to upgrade my exercise. I walk once or twice a day, and I will need to cut out bread. I have done it before, so it's not like I can't do it. I have done it before, but I do eat some bread. So that's the answer. When I'm in the United States, I'm not there now. I'm not in the US right now. So Ezekiel is a good brand and very healthy with no oil. Sometimes I do the maximum weight loss. I have also gone to the super strict side, which is when I go to Santa Rosa and I go to True North. True North is an establishment where you check in, and it's a water fasting medical establishment. But and I have tried some fasting, and like Dr. McDougall does not like fasting, and I'm not crazy about it either. I know it has tremendous benefits, and I wanted to try it. So I've done juice fasting, I've done water fasting, but at True North, all the food, which is wonderful, it's also all-you-can-eat buffet. It's all whole food, and there is no oil, and there's no sugar, no salt, no flour. It's pretty much it's food as medicine. People go there. Some people go there because that's the last resort, and they're very, very, very sick, and they need medical treatment almost, if not daily, very often. So I have tried a lot of things. Very good. What is your favorite way to season beans? You're cooking from dry beans. Sometimes I like to cook them plain because then I can make different casseroles and different stews. But otherwise, I like to put some. Uh, I like to put a few garlic cloves whole, and I like cumin. I like oregano. I like some kind of Mexican taco seasoning. I have such a large variety of seasonings, and so I vary them so that I don't get tired. What is your go-to dressing for salad? Well, I have a lot of different recipes, and I don't mind sharing them with you in an upcoming email. Maybe I'm going to make a note. But really, now it's simple. I just mix some salt-free stone ground mustard with apple cider vinegar and maybe sometimes they put orange juice or lime juice. And here in Argentina, where I'm right now, they sell how can I explain it? It's just, it looks like oil, but it's not. It's like flax seeds. When you put flax seeds in the water, it becomes kind of thick fluid, almost like it's oil. And so I find that in a bottle, and so sometimes I put that, and I just shake it and mix it, and it's good for me. But I have other recipes for salad dressings that are a little more elaborate, and that one of them has roasted pears. You do have to have a food processor, and you get this thick, and it has other ingredients, of course. But I will make sure that I'm going to send you some salad dressing recipes. Let me write it down here. Salad dressings. Okay. Yeah, some people just love to put lemon juice and eat the salad. I still have to, I have to have something. What Chef AJ does is she always includes one type of fruit, whether it's chopped apples or blueberries or oranges or pineapple. And so sometimes if it has that, then you might get away with me eating it with no dressing. A super quick dressing is 50 cider vinegar and a spoon and water with a spoonful of nooch. Okay, great. Thank you for these ideas. What else we have here? Okay. Whole grain bread, yes, good to know. When I lost my 70 pounds, I was following the Starch solution. I came home because everybody that went to the 10-day program in their little bags got the Starch solution. I had never seen it or read it. When I started reading that, it was like this big black cloud, I was like sunshine, I started seeing things much, much clearer. So at that point, I was eating pasta, I was eating bread, I was using some sugar and salt, no oil, and no animal products whatsoever. But yeah, that's and no exercise. So that it was quite easy for me and exciting because every week was 4, 5, 6 pounds, sometimes even more every week. And the more potatoes and sweet potatoes that I ate, like I mentioned in one of our sessions, the faster that I lost. Let's see. I feel like Dr. McDougall is not a big proponent of fruit. What do you think? No. He is a proponent of fruit. Yeah. Gosh, I see him eating fruit in his buffets, in the 10-day program, in the 3-day program. There are these huge platters of this delicious fruit. What I can tell you, I don't want to get in trouble, is that he really likes his plate is like 90% starch. So his potatoes, mashed potatoes, and corn, and you won't see a lot of salad. Although that's not to say that he doesn't eat it or that he doesn't eat any greens or anything like that, because that's not true. But in other similar programs, there is a huge emphasis on salads. And actually, in the 10-day program, the buffet always starts with a huge salad. So it's salads, soups, and stews, and then the potatoes or sweet potatoes and the pasta casserole, or if there's bread or pizza or lasagna, things like that at the end. Okay. Cancers begin and are spread by unhealthy components of a meat and dairy essentially. This is a huge statement. I would think people would want to avoid meat just by this one statement. Yes, you would. And in the China study, it's explained, and Dr. Campbell has lectures on the internet where he explains exactly how this happens. Do you sequence your meals? No, I eat simply now. Number one, I eat when I'm hungry, which is not what I used to do. We all, it's like we have been programmed to think that we have to eat breakfast at 7, 8, 9 in the morning. We have to eat lunch somewhere in the middle of the day and dinner. And it doesn't have to be that way. There are days when I am not hungry and I don't eat breakfast. And so if my body is not asking me, I don't eat it. It is not very common, but I can say that it happens every other week or so, and just for some reason I'm not hungry, so I don't sequence them, and it's very simple what I eat, and I do like to make once or twice a week a more elaborate meal. Does your family in Argentina support the way you eat? This is a very good question. A lot of the doctors that you see out there, these famous doctors and nutritionists and chefs, their family members don't follow them, don't follow their advice. So they're standing on their own. Yeah. And this is something for you to learn. It was very hard. It's a very hard lesson to learn. It took me a long time to learn it and accept it. It's still difficult when I see a family member like I have seen a few months ago, who had a massive heart attack, and I've explained to this person or given the hint that there are things that can be done to avoid another, but they're not interested, and so trying to convince somebody is most of the times it doesn't work. So in I have a very, very, very big family with a lot of cousins and aunts and uncles, and I only have one sister, but the only person that follow this way of eating is my mother, my partner, and my aunt. all three are here right now. We're confined in this wonderful mountain town in Cordoba, Argentina, where we can go outside and enjoy the nature. And they do. And they have for years, since the day I came back from the 10-day program. But other than that, I have family members and friends that are overweight and obese and very sick, and they have seen the change in my life. They never ask one word about, hey, can you tell me a little bit? And I, like Dr. Doug Lisle, you've got to watch that lecture that Dr. Doug Lisle gives about, trying to convince others. It's just, it's sad, but we have to accept it. Okay. Let's see. I know exactly what you mean. Same here. Do you eat vegetables with breakfast or just starch? For breakfast, I eat most of the time what Dr. McDougall eats, which is a large, in my case, bowl of oatmeal, which has changed throughout the years. And now it's a large bowl of oatmeal with quite a good amount of fruit, always a very sweet banana, and then apple or peaches or other fruits, or blueberries and raspberries and blackberries. And sometimes I cook it with dates, because now I don't use sugar anymore or any kind of syrup. Okay, guys. Next week, we will pick up with chapter 5 and 6, hopefully. And I want to make a few announcements. Number one, I want to thank you for joining me. I know that it's a big commitment to commit for this 1 hour on a Saturday, and I appreciate it. I have when you get this email with the replay, I have included a gift. If 2 or 3 years ago, Chef AJ and I filmed a webinar that was called South of the Border, and it was made to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, and so it has some Mexican recipes, and it was always for a fee, it was $14.97. And until May 6th, we have decided to give it away for free. So not only do you get to watch the video and watch her make the recipes, but you also get the PDF with the recipes. So that's going to go out to you. Make sure you grab it, because after May 6th, it's not free anymore. Okay, and then besides that, and these are the recipes. You have tostados. Oh, those are so like tostadas. You also have the Mexicali rice, which is almost instant. You have the chipotle corn salsa, and you have nacho cheese Kale-rito chips, which is like chips made with kale, and then she has this nacho cheese sauce that is amazing. Then she has a tropical treats and fresh homemade strawberry ice cream. Okay, and then another webinar that I filmed more recently with my dear friend Sheida from California, Sheida Soleimani, who has lost over 100 pounds, and now is an expert in this area of weight loss and cooking and health. She and I filmed a webinar that is called, let's see, what was it called? Mexican Party. Well, you'll see the title. And oh goodness, there are 10 recipes there. And that is 40% off if you want to support our work. You don't have to. I'm just going to send you all this in case you want it. But she has some sweet potato stuffed jalapeno poppers that are out of this world. She also has stuffed potato taquitos. Oh my gosh, I couldn't stop eating those. And The cauliflower tacos, it's like having ground beef. It's incredible what she did with those. And then she has the white bean guacamole and others. And one of the things that it just was amazing was her margarita. If you didn't know, you would think that you're actually drinking a real margarita. Of course, this one doesn't have alcohol, although you could add it if you wanted to. But so this is a great webinar, and you're going to get those links in the email that is going to go out. And let's see if I have forgotten anything. If another resource, guys, that is truly incredible is the foodsavedme.com website from Catherine Lawrence, and it is Food Saved Me, and she has some amazing free webinars there. Check them out. The Food Addiction 911, the Immune System Boosters. Yesterday we filmed one for skin aging with a dermatologist. That's going to come out soon, and it's going to be free also. And just to remind you to please go to my YouTube channel if you don't mind, and subscribe and click on the little bell. It helps me. Most of what I do is free, but in order to keep doing things for free, it helps to have a little bit of extra money to do all this work. So to close this, I'm going to mention something that I feel embarrassed to mention, but several of you have asked me, and so here it is, but ignore it if it bothers you. But some of you have asked me how you could support me a little more. So you can go to patreon.com and look for Starch, Dr. Starch, and you'll find me. And there are levels of supporting me that give you benefits. Okay, and that's it. But mostly, I love doing a lot of free content for you, and I love to hear from you. And I want to hear what you want or what you need so that I can make more stuff for you to enjoy. So here is a gift for you. I don't know if you know that my mother is also a concert pianist, and we have recorded a video. It's about 4 minutes with 2 short pieces by Georges Bizet, a French composer, and it's called Children's Games, and there is a collection of short pieces of music. They're not for children to play because, well, I mean, they could be if you have a genius prodigy child, but they're made for children to listen to because they describe different activities or different parts of the childhood. So I'm going to leave you with this wonderful 2 short pieces by Bizet with my mother, and I will see you next week.